Alright guys, welcome back to another AFL Fantasy video for the 2022 season. Prior to my first video, we made a couple of changes towards the team, so I guess today I'll just be talking about the changes that we made, as well as all the players that we selected and why we've selected them. But if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, it means a lot to me. But let's just get straight into it. In terms of defenders, not much has changed since my first video. We've brought in Aaron Hall because I feel like he's probably the safest option going into the early rounds. We saw last year his role was really consistent throughout halfback for North Melbourne, taking kickouts, many plus sixes amongst those boys, and his consistency was something that really stood out for me. So a player like Aaron Hall I really do like, especially when you need consistent players in the early rounds. And then we've got in Jake Lloyd. Not the greatest of seasons last year, but did finish off pretty strong. What I really like about Jake Lloyd is that I think he provides a bit of value this year. I think he should average above 100, especially with someone like Jordan Dawson departing the Sydney Swans. It'll leave more room for someone like Jake Lloyd to take more kickouts and increase his points. So we've got Jake Lloyd sitting in our team at the moment. And then Hayden Young, a bit of a pod, I guess you can say. Not many coaches have him in their team. I really like the way he plays and goes about his footy. He was really highly rated as a youngster, and across Fremantle halfback, we saw last year, especially his last three games, I think he scored 80 plus on those three occasions in a row, so he looked really good. A bit of concern whether or not he'll be taking kickouts this season. That'll probably be Luke Ryan's job, so you may argue that it might affect his scoring and maybe he won't be that 90 plus player. But I think the way he was going and his form towards the back end of the season last year was pretty impressive, and it's enough to select him in my initial team. And then we've got Sicily and Malera, two similar players. Sorry. I like both of these guys only because they didn't play last year, so they are heavily discounted, and they're close to must-haves, I would say, just because of the ability of what they can do. And priced at 510 and 378k, heaps of value. Sicily should average well above 80, and same goes with Malera. So they're both really highly rated players, Sicily in particular, and there is a lot of upside and a lot of money to be made in those two players. And then going on to my rookies, we've got Gould, Skinner, and O'Driscoll. Looking into our midfield now, we're starting off with the big dog, Jack Steele. Probably my favourite pick in my team this whole year, apart from Caleb Sarong, and I'll get to that later on. But Jack Steele is a great pick. I think he's probably, if you're looking for a premium midfielder to pick into your team, I would highly recommend Jack Steele over everyone. Took Miller is a great player, don't get me wrong. Jared Lyons, Jack McRae, they're all good players. But I feel like Jack Steele is probably the one that's going to help you throughout the most of the season, especially towards the start. So if we look at Jack Steele, he is pretty expensive, priced at $1 million. But the way he goes about his footy, he can mark the ball, he can tackle, he racks up, kicks, handballs. He does it all around the ground. His time on ground is always pretty high, so he's never missing out on points really. And he's a great loophole captain option in the first couple of rounds, especially when he has a dream fixture. So if we look at his fixture coming up, he's basically got Collingwood round one of the easiest teams for midfielders to score against. He's then got Fremantle, another easy team, Richmond, one of the easiest teams again, and Hawthorn. So he's got a really good couple of first games coming up. So there's not much wrong. There's not much that can go wrong when you pick Jack Steele. So I really recommend him as a pick, especially because he's really heavily priced. The only flaw against them would be his price tag because he is pretty heavily priced. But aside from that, if you guys are looking for a premium midfielder, I would go either Jack Steele or Tom Mitchell, one of those two. And then we get on to Tom Mitchell, who, yeah, he's a great player, great all-round player like Jack Steele. He's also got a pretty good fixture coming up. I do like the way he plays. He's got that piggy status, and he should be great this year again, averaging 115 plus with ease, I reckon. Only bit of a concern is I think he might have a couple stints up forward. but that's only to rest him because they don't want to take him off the ground. Aside from that, I think he will average well above 115. He'll play inside mid, should rack up the ball. Yeah, that's where he plays best, so they'll leave him there, and he should have another phenomenal season. And then Sam Walsh, we brought him in, so it's a bit of a change here. I really like Walsh as a pick, mainly because you can compare him to someone like Jack Steele. His time on ground is probably the most out of many Carlton players, so there's no issue there. His ability to score and break through a tag is pretty impressive as well, as we saw last year. He loves to tackle, he definitely loves a +6, and he can accumulate throughout the inside mids, so I really like Sam Walsh as an option. A great all-round player who has high time on ground and can score really well with the high ceiling, so he's in our side for those early rounds, and he's probably a top 8 mid, so we'll probably hold him throughout the most of the season. And then Caleb Serong. I think Caleb Serong will have a breakout year this year. There's writing on the cards at the moment. The way he finished off last year was really impressive. Adam Chara departing Fremantle also leaves a bit more space in that midfield for Serong to thrive a bit more and get his time on ground up a bit. And we saw last year he played relatively low time on ground. So he was playing really low minutes most games and still scoring well. So for him to score 110 plus in those last 3 rounds and play pretty low minutes was really impressive. So I think Serong has definitely a lot of potential. Whether or not he plays more minutes in a game is entirely up to the Fremantle Dockers. But if he does, I know for a fact his scoring will definitely improve. And I think he will average well above 100 this season. It's just a matter of how much more he will average. And then going on to Matt Crouch. I really like Matt Crouch. Given what he's done in the past, he's a really good inside mid. It'll be interesting to see where the Adelaide Crows use him. That'll probably be the only X against his name at the moment, because we know that they have a stacked midfield with Laird, Keys, and Sloan, as well as Schoenberg and a couple others. So whether or not he just fits straight back into that midfield role, or whether or not they decide to play him in a new role and test him, is entirely up to the Adelaide Crows. But we'll have to wait and see in the March series and the preseason games where he does play. But we do know when he does play inside mid, he is a really good player and should average well above 100. So I really like Matt Crouch as a value pick. Definitely a lot of upside there, potentially even for like around 400k upside. So there's lots of money to be made in Matt Crouch, and let's hope that he can play that inside mid role that he's been playing the past couple of years. And then we've got Horn Francis, Dacos, Callaghan, who are all really highly rated rookies, all averaged around the 90 to 100 mark. Dacos and Horn Francis in particular are probably the two that I like. Callaghan is still a really good player, but I don't think he'll get a game this season. But all three are really good players. And then Clark, Mead on the bench. That's just there for that at the moment. In terms of our rucks, we've gone with Grundy and Witts. Now, I know that a lot of people have been picking up Braden Preuss, which is a really good value option, I reckon, and he does have the ability to score pretty well. My only concern with Braden Preuss is that, with all the rucks in the GWS, Mumford, Flynn, there was another guy last year, I forgot his name, I think it was Briggs. With all their heavy rucks, I think that they're going to be rotating a lot throughout the year with their ruckmen, and we'll see a lot of games that probably Preuss, Mumford, Briggs, they all get rested, as well as Flynn, and they'll probably just be rotating a lot throughout with their rucks throughout the season, so I don't think he'll be playing really consistently, Preuss, so that's probably my only concern against him. If he was the number one ruck at the Giants, I would definitely be selecting him though, although I don't think he is, and I don't think he'll be playing every game this season, so that's our reasoning behind starting with Grundy and Witts. Grundy's just a pig all around. Didn't have the greatest of seasons last year, still played really well, don't get me wrong, but was a bit inconsistent, so I'm hoping he can bounce back, and there is a bit of upside in Brodie Grundy. And Witts got injured early on, and we know that he can average 80 plus as he's done in the past, so bit of value there in Jared Witts. Obviously not a keeper for the whole season, but he's a good initial player, provides a lot of value, so we've selected those two for that reason. And then Sam Hayes on the bench as our emergency ruck. And then going into our forward line, Mitch Duncan, I think I mean, I wouldn't say he's a must-have, but he's close to one because just the way he goes about his footy, every year he averages close to 100, if not more than 100. He's just uber consistent with what he does. Does get injured, odd game, but I mean, you got to take that with someone like Mitch Duncan. Just the way he plays is just phenomenal. He always runs around the ground looking for a mark. He's always wanting the footy in his hand, and he's just really heavy. He's just really hungry for the ball, I guess you can say. So Mitch Duncan is a really good option, and I really do like him. Provides a bit of value as well. I think he can average a bit more. Trelaw, 731k. We've got him in at the moment over Dunkley. I feel that over Dunkley, he's probably going to be the one that plays a bit more inside mid, just because that's where he's played for most of his career. So if he does slot into the midfield, he definitely will play in the inside area. But with them midfield, McRae, Bont, and Libba, I think it's going to be pretty hard getting back into there. So I'm hoping that throughout the preseason and the Mars series, he can play inside mid, and if he does, that's enough to select him in my team. And Taron Thomas, I really like Taron Thomas. Him with along with Sarong, I think are really good picks. I think both of them can average above 100, and there's a lot of writing on the walls for this guy to break out this year. We saw glimpses last year. He played throughout the inside mid, a bit up forward, and scored really well. If he can get his time on ground up a bit more like Sarong, I think he will definitely score a lot better. And I think he will average 90 plus this season. Maybe 100 even, but we'll have to wait and see. And then Brody and Henry, they're really cheap options, 387k, 317k. I do like Will Brody just because what he's done in the past. Didn't really get an opportunity down at the Gold Coast, so hopefully Fremantle do give him a game. And there is a bit of value in there because we have seen what he can do. And then Liam Henry, a bit of a POD as well. Rumours have been touted that he's been playing on a wing in the practice games and training and stuff like that. So I think that with the wing role up for grabs, Liam Henry really wants it. I think that if he does take it, and we see it throughout the Mars series, him playing on a wing, that's enough to select him. Given that he does score at least 70 or 80. But yeah, lots of value if he does play on that wing. If he plays up forward, he's definitely a no. So that's that. Eli Smith, captain, loophole option for Steele. That's why we have him in our team. And then Elijah Hollands and Jai Sarong and Harry Sharp are our three rookies there. So that concludes our team and how it's looking like at the moment. I'm pretty happy with the overall structure. We'll have to obviously wait and see. It is still like mid-Feb, so there is a couple of months to go before the AFL season kicks off. But we'll wait and see. At the moment, we've got 201k in the bank, so we can make a trade if we need to. We can change something up. But I'm pretty happy with how our team's looking like. If you guys do have any questions, make sure to comment them down below. And I'll make another video closing in, I think, after the March series. And I'll see you guys next time.